Well, just like the second episode. Welcome to a very late podcast as usual. As you always know, Noah and my guest or friend here, co-partner is Avery. Uh, this week's topic is, as many of you are already aware, if you're not living under a rock and you haven't even checked your social media in a week because you're dead, and thank you to my phone. I'm gonna throw you off to the side.
You might as well restart.
No, we'll keep going. I don't give a shit. I just want to get this over with. So what we're going to talk about this week, funny enough, because of the date change, we have more to talk about because of all the things that have occurred this weekend or this week alone. We're going to talk about Bristol, Pocono, and then we don't even need to tell you. We're going to talk about the Wickens incident because everybody has. The Connor Daly, the Daly incident, because it's not just Connor, it wasn't even Connor's doing. So we're gonna talk about that. I guess we could somewhat talk about IndyCar going back to Texas, and then we're just gonna do probably a weekend preview of the NASCAR weekend and then the IndyCar weekend. So jumping straight into it, we'll just start.
Don't forget about Santino Ferrucci, the guy everybody hates for no reason.
I have reasons for disliking him. I'll get into that on my own. Well, I don't really. It's not like I dislike him. It's just more mutual. It's more of I don't give a fuck, and partly of, I mean, it's kind of dumb. Cause no, that's not even him. We'll get to that later. We'll go in chronological order of the week. So Saturday, starting Thursday, Truck Series, Johnny Sauter wins. End of the regular season. Johnny Sauter is regular season champion. Yada yada yada. Nobody cares. Truck race is boring. Xfinity race is boring. Besides Bush's little antics during the interview, and then Saturday.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
What is that? To Bush's interview?
Yes.
That was a really funny interview. People say, "Oh, he's such an immature bitch." It's like, no, that was. I can understand that because whoever the hell was interviewing him asked him the question, and then Bush answered it, and then he corrected him and told him what actually happened. I was like, "Well, fuck me then, am I right?" And he just walks out. It's like I can understand why he did that. That's kind of dumb.
I think that was Snyder.
Marty
Snyder.
No, he works for that's the guy who works for ESPN with the wannabe redneck accent. I hate that guy. No, that's Marty Reed. My bad.
Yeah, that's Marty Reed.
Yeah.
Marty Snyder. Hold on. Myatt Snyder's his son. I think he races in trucks. But yes, I'm pretty sure it was Marty Snyder. And quick story.
Yeah, that's right.
When we were at the race, the Brickyard, he was walking along, and I asked him about his son, and he didn't even answer me. He just sort of gave me like a look, and I was like, okay, and just walked away. So I'm not a big fan of him. I do like his work, but I don't like how he sort of big timed me in a way. But I mean, I get it.
It is what it is. He was trying to avoid Kevin Harvick's crew chief sandwich from falling off the roof.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what happened there on Friday. The only big incident that happened Friday, and then Cup Series Saturday, the Bass Pro Shops NRA night race, whatever the hell it is. It's the night race. It's the Sharpie 500. That's what I'm gonna.
One of the best races of the whole season.
Yeah,
the one I look forward to the most.
And it didn't. And it delivered. That stupid epoxy crap that they put on the bottom of the track. I hate it with a passion because it's dumb, but it works. So I can live with it. It did its job, and it made the racing really good. That was a really good race, all around. Kyle Busch, wreck at the beginning, took out half the field. And that just what set up the rest. It set up a modified that NASCAR said was never going to happen again, but it ended up happening because Kyle Busch ran without the rear bumper of the car.
I always love that. Yeah, I love that.
I think it's cool. I always think those are cool, like the modifieds.
Especially when they're doing good.
Yeah, because I hate to use a video game as a reference for this, but the game I play, Enter 2003, that many people may know, when you lose the back bumper, it makes the car very loose. So off of my basis, off of what I know, if that's what Busch was doing, I'm surprised he did as well as he did, because that should have made the car a little bit like incredibly loose just to drive. And he made it work, going back from 3 laps down all the way to 6. That was great.
As much as we don't like him, he's clearly top 3 in just talent,
Yeah.
which I'm sure he's gonna love a new package.
Um, for Bush, I'm actually starting to become a fan of him, which might be a shocker, but I'm actually enjoying Bush because the interview he gave post race was really good. And when he said, he said there was no ups, there's only downs. What are you talking about? Well, you're charged back from 3 laps down to go up to 6. And he goes, that's just me. And he was like, he's not wrong. That is him. That's not a
Yeah.
really good day. That is just him being him. He's like, anybody can say he's a whiny bitch and untalented, shit like that, but the man can drive, regardless of what you want to say. His 2015
The
Cup
problem
champion.
I have is, yeah, the problem I have is I think he's a good driver. I do think he treats his fans a little wrong, but so do some other drivers. I actually was somewhat of a fan before me and you started going to the Brickyards, and he won 2 in a row.
Oh, God.
That just made me, for some reason, just like turn on him. I've always sort of had a little like for him because I always liked the bad guy in a way. But I mean, the thing I don't like is when you ask him a question, he seems like it seems like you're just getting some shit answer
He's
that
disinterested.
he doesn't really care what you're. Yeah, and his wife like kind of agrees with him, but I guarantee if she was nowhere near him, she'd be so much nicer.
Yeah. I don't really have any opinion on his wife. I don't really care. She's kind of irrelevant in a way.
She's irrelevant, but
Yeah.
one of the smoke shows of the NASCAR.
or,
Put her in a monster outfit.
or what the fire chief said when he DM'd her that skeleton was a boob job. That's what apparently one person thinks of her. But going on in the race still. Overall, great race. I guess we could do the Jimmy Johnson tracker at this point. Where is he now? That he
I can't
is.
remember.
He finished in 9th. I looked that up before the race. He did really good in this race. Right now the counter is at 60. It's been 60 races now since he last won a race. I'll put that.
That much, really?
Yeah, he hasn't won since Dover of last year, the spring race, if I'm correct. So it's been 60 races since he won a race. So the counter's
That's a lot.
yeah, the counter's at 60, and he did really good in this race. He had a position to where he could have won the race until that incident happened where he like cut a tire with the Chris Buescher incident that ended up causing Kyle Busch his race too. We're getting ahead of ourselves really, but regardless, Jimmy Johnson had himself a good night. Back to the recap race. So the main of the race was everybody battling for each other. It was Harvick winning stage 1. Stage 2, he had his tire loose, so he had to go fix that. That cost him the race. Martin Truex Jr. had a really bad race, and he started picking up late in the race. Stage 2 was the battle between Joey Logano and everybody else. I forget who was in second. Logano.
I feel like Ryan Blaney was up there.
Yeah, but then he also messed up. It was Chase Elliott was the star of the night. I'll give him credit for that. I know most people don't like Chase. Well, everybody likes Chase Elliott except me for the most part. Chase Elliott, I'll give him credit though, did really good in that race. He was the guy that could consistently run up there and hold his own. So props to him. If I had to pick a driver of the race, it'd be him. So Logano won stage 2, and then it was a really good battle for the lucky dog position. I really liked how NBC paid attention to that, where it showed the battle between Harvick and Busch, because that was a lot better than the actual battle for the stage win. So that was entertaining to watch. And then stage 3 was where everything happened. The Kyle Busch wreck, which I've never. Well, no, that's not wrong. I have heard fans boo louder than that, but that was really, for a crowd that small for Bristol standards, they were very receptive to that. Kyle Busch on the lead lap, charging up to the front, was up in 6th, I think it was. It was like in 3rd or some crap like that. Charging up, ended up turning Martin Truex Jr. into the wall. Fans deafened, booed him like usual.
I don't think it was that bad.
It was loud. It was obviously loud, but again, it's a dome, so it's gonna echo really easily. The restart, as we talked about, Jimmy Johnson going 3 wide with uh, Chris Buescher and Kyle Busch. Jimmy Johnson shoved Chris Buescher up into Kyle Busch. All three of them cut a tire, actually. Because Johnson cut a tire, goes to pit road. Chris Buescher got the shit beaten out of his car. He ended up finishing like 11th, I think it was. And Kyle Busch had the tire cut where he spun out onto the apron and then almost had the DNF. And then that's when the crowd goes absolutely nuts. So that ended up bringing Kyle's race. And then at Kurt Busch, it was a Stewart-Haas battle between Kurt Busch and Clint Bowyer. And Kurt Busch ended up coming out the winner. So Bristol being won by Kurt Busch. Forget who was in second. I don't really care.
Kind of unexpectedly.
Well, not really unexpectedly because he ran up there. He held his own for most of that race. So I'll give him credit. He was up. He wasn't really like. I don't really know how to explain him.
Okay, for me, unexpected means like going into the race you wouldn't expect him to win, and then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, he's won here a lot.
Yeah.
But his brother's been dominating since like 2008, so it's like you don't even remember the days he used to win all the time.
Yeah. I kind of knew he was there because you could see him. I looked at a tracker and you could see him moving up. He wasn't in like top 3, top 5 most of the race, but you could tell he was slowly gaining up there. And with everything that was happening, he was just picking him apart one by one by one. And as the race went on, he just got higher up to the point where he was there. And then when Truex had his accident, Logano fell back, and all those people fell back. And then Elliott stayed up there really. But when the race went on, that's when Busch came alive. And then you could see that he was beginning to hold his own and then make a charge for himself, and it ended up working. Yeah. So, I guess we could do a rating on that race. How did you rate that out of like 5, I guess?
I don't like the 5 scale just because I feel like there's so much more you could go. I feel like 100-point scale is like my type.
All right. So what did you got for that?
If this race was put into like 2006, it'd be like a 50 out of 100. But since this is what we have to live, it's probably like an 82.
Yeah, I'd put it up there. Overall, just racing itself, I'd give it about 85, 86. 85 and a half, actually, just put it in the middle. It was just a really good race overall. The only thing that was really brought it down was the crowd and the fact they kept putting Rutledge Wood on the fucking camera, which I hate.
I like Rutledge, but you have too many personalities. You have Rutledge, which is 1. You have Junior, which is 2. You have Burton as 3, Letarte as 4, and then 5th is Rick Allen. You have 5 guys who are on screen almost like every minute. They all say something. You got Kligerman, you got Snyder, you got that one girl, Kelly, I think her name is. And then it's just like so many people. You need to cut some of those people somehow.
Yeah. My number one pet peeve about every NBC race is not only just all the ads they do relentlessly, but just also the stupid post-race interview. Like, yeah,
when they go up to them, and then 2 minutes later they interview them in victory lane.
Yes, I think it's stupid. I think it's beyond stupid. Like, you just see him too. Like, you just see him roll up, and I know they're sitting in a truck, but for some reason I always have this like they have this feel like this entitled, smug look. Like when they go out there, it's like, oh, time to do our thing. Like, I don't honestly, I just want to see a driver get in the car, and just drive away, like not even stop. Just drive.
I wish. I'd be okay with it if they didn't interview him 2 minutes later.
Yeah, it's dumb. We don't need to see the victory lane celebration if you're just gonna interview him 5 minutes before.
Exactly.
It's either do the victory lane interview or do the post race interview on the track. Do one of the two.
Yeah. Also, why is Dale Jr. doing the Xfinity races that have Junior Motorsports cars in them? I don't like that at all. He's good at it, but it's still super like, okay, why should I believe anything you say about your own cars?
Yeah, that's true. I guess you could say that for Ray Everham when he did ESPN.
I mean, technically, you could say that about Gordon too.
Could you though? Really?
Doesn't he own like the 48 or something?
He co-owns the 48.
Yeah,
I think he co-owns the 24 too. I forget.
something like that. Yeah, I mean, they do a good job, but I still don't want to see
Because
it
they're
because
obviously biased.
they're either biased or they're like not explaining everything because they don't want the other teams to know because they know things.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like they're
true.
trying to hide things so they don't mention certain things that they'd mention on other cars.
Yeah. Uh, Moving on from that, we could. Oh, well, the last thing we need to talk about is the
Pocono.
Kyle Busch. No, not that.
Okay.
I was gonna. This is still Bristol. I'm talking about the Kyle Busch post race. I don't really call it a brawl, more like an because everyone says it's a fight. No, it was just an altercation between Kyle Busch and a fan post race. Did you see that video?
I didn't see the video, but I think people are going a little too crazy on this.
Yeah, what happened was the story behind it was Kyle Busch was doing post race after the race. He was going back to his RV. He was in a golf cart and he stopped to do autographs. An angry.
First time ever.
Okay, he's gotten better. He's nicer. I'll give him credit. Like
He,
he had a shit night.
he will only sign your stuff if you have 18 gear.
Yeah, that's true. He
Or
treated.
unless you sort of like block him,
Yeah.
which is what we did.
But what happened was he's on his way back. He's outside the track and he's doing interviews for fans. An angry fan came up and got in his face. With the Truex incident. I didn't hear what happened, like what he was saying, but he got up to him. He got up into Kyle Busch's face and started getting mad at each other and arguing. The guy chest bumped Busch away, and then Busch came back and shoved him. And it almost got into a fight until the police came over and separated the two. They took the guy away, and Busch just got in his
No, they
go
didn't.
kart. They didn't?
Nope, he basically left. Everybody says they put him in custody and all that.
Well,
No, he
no.
was gone.
I heard. Oh no! So it was just a fan. I heard the security guards got him, and they didn't
No,
like arrest him, but they separated the two. Like they got in between them.
one guy separated him, but then once they were separated, the guy flew
Well,
because
obviously.
and I feel like people are a little like overreacting. They're like, this is ridiculous. This never happens. Well, when you're the bad guy, you should expect that.
Especially when you're in a place like Tennessee.
Yeah, but like I just don't understand how people are like, this is ridiculous. NASCAR needs to be a little more safe. This happens every sport. There's a bad person, and I mean, I don't want to go into other sports, but there are many other athletes who are hated on that a lot of worse things happen to. So I don't get why one altercation in a year
Yeah,
is that bad.
Like the LeBron James, the woman, the Golden State Warriors fan calling him a pussy ass bitch while he's walking to the tunnel.
I mean, there's a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
he's not even that hated.
he's hating. He's hating California. We can say that much.
When you're the most hated guy in your sport, you should expect people to confront you every single week.
Yeah. Um. Then we
I
can
mean,
go.
think about pro wrestlers
Oh God.
when people rush them because they think it's real and people are hating. I mean, this is exactly the same thing. He's playing the bad guy, which is a good idea. NASCAR needs a bad guy, but he should expect people to altercate with him.
Yeah. Um. Moving on from that, obviously going the Sunday Pocono. Not really. Well, obviously there's stuff to review, but not as much as there could have been, which is somewhat of a good thing. Um.
Yeah, let's be honest. No one remembers who won the race. I only remember because I was disappointed.
Well, I watched the whole race. I've obviously
I
watched
watched the whole race, but I
it.
guarantee most people who watched the whole race only knew that Wickens
Yeah.
crashed. They don't know who won. They don't care.
Yeah. So what happened? Obviously, many people know the initial start. Um. Big jump on the start, and it's a game of who's who on who caused it all. But there's a big checkup. Graham Rahal tried to get a jump, and he ran straight into the back of Spencer Pickett. Spencer Pickett spun to the inside, and that caused the first caution. Even though it should not have been, they should not have counted it as a start. They should have just re-racked the field and then redid the restart for the race rather than make it just single file and counted as it, because they never crossed the line by the time the wreck happened, so it should not have counted as a start. I think it was
Willpower does this a lot. I mean, Willpower's a good
he
driver, but I've seen him do this multiple times.
no he held it. He did what he was supposed to do. He held it, and he had the telemetry to show it. So they backed up what they said. They proved what they needed to prove, that it wasn't Power's fault. Power held the speed he needed to until he got to the start zone, whatever the fuck you want to call it for them. But regardless of it, they never crossed the line by the time the caution flag flew. So with what IndyCar does in the past, they should have just re-racked the field and redid the restart. I mean, even on a single file start alone, what we ended up knowing happening because of it, it's kind of a good thing, really. Just by rule standards, they should have just re-racked the field. But then what ended up happening probably could have been a lot worse than it was. And let's just stop hinting at it. The Wickens crash, going to turn 2, Hunter pinching Wickens, and as we all know, Wickens just going straight up into the fence.
Yeah.
This
is another thing I don't get. People are saying, "Oh, it's all the fence's fault." I feel like the first impact was the worst of it.
Oh yeah, the fence wasn't the fence wasn't the thing that did him. It was that just straight up hitting the wall that ended up break. That's what I think broke his leg.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
because he just gets,
you don't even see it in the first replays. They didn't even show the replay that is actually the good one on TV.
Yeah, well, it was just a really weird incident. Many people say it was a racing incident. People blame Wickens. I've heard people. I blame Hunter Ray myself. I think that was Hunter Ray. In the end, it doesn't really matter whose fault it was, because everybody has their opinions. My opinion was, he's on your inside the entire straightaway. Your spotter
he
never.
Said he did.
Then his spotter should have told him. His spotter should have told him, hey, there's a car on your inside. If you can't see in your mirror that the car is all the way at your side, midway down the straightaway, going into the tunnel turn, you should have known he was going to be there. Like, I know that, he should have backed out and all this stuff, but it's like, he gave him the lane, and they just moved the whole lane down. If he would have
I don't blame either one of them.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's a racing deal. I can see what both sides of the argument. I put more of the blame on Hunter A, because I think that was just a really dumb thing to do, and I called it. On the replay, I called it. He's like, going to the tunnel turn. I was saying, he's going to pinch him. He's going to pinch him. He fucking pinches him. I'm like, I fucking called it. And he just goes in the fence. It's like, God damn it. And I was at the museum. I was working that day. So being at the track to have that happen was very, I don't want to say it's like surreal, but like the emotion of being there when that happened is just ridiculous. Felt very even worse, because you're at the track that is like their home, and you look outside that window and you're looking at a fence that had the same thing basically happen to it. And then they show that replay, and I'm looking at my coworkers, and we see this wreck, and I look out the door, and it's like, yep, it happened right there. It's like, damn. And that red flag, like, everybody was all excited. It was a very happy mood before it, but once it happened, the entire mood of the track just changed dramatically. Because
I'm surprised that many people actually care about IndyCar who work there, honestly.
Most of the people that did care were museum workers, because they're all doing tours, so they have to care, because they have to know what they're doing. So a lot of the people that did care were museum workers. Because we work at the track, we have the TVs in there. So anytime IndyCar is on, we go straight to IndyCar. So we we have to watch it regardless, and I was going to watch it regardless. I didn't care if anybody wanted to watch it. I would change the channel immediately just to go watch that race, because we were at the track. You have to watch the race for the people that are in there. The tourists that were in there, the workers that were in there, everybody that was in there saw that wreck, and everybody just looked at TV, and it was just like a blank expression. It was like, holy shit, that just happened. And I talked to a few of them, and it was just a very like dark mood. I talked to some of the workers that were, because the tour buses people, they get off at 3, so they can leave by the time that wreck happened. I talked to a few of them. One of them was my friend. I talked to him and I said, hey, that was ridiculous. Like, I really don't want to be here right now. I just want to go home. And they left by the time that Wickens was announced that he was quote unquote okay. He was alive at least.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't do much to specify because I feel like everybody thought he was dead because they didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, because I talked to everybody, and everybody I talked to said, and I could feel it, and it made me very scared. In all honesty, the mood of the track just felt exactly like Dan Meldon, and I hate to say it, but it did.
Eh,
The
I,
mood of
I
it's just the mood of the accident felt just like it because um they red flagged the race immediately. You look at the replay of Zach Veach going through it, and it looked somewhat similar. All the debris and the torn up fence and the cars spewed everywhere in wreckage, and all the ambulances and everything reminds you of it. And they pulled down pit road, and they told them like immediately get out of the car. Um, all the drivers did a drivers meeting right afterwards. They all went to a tent or whatever, and they did a drivers meeting about the wreck. And you were left out wondering what was going on, and they never told you.
yeah, I did. For some reason I didn't feel like even though they didn't say that and people may have thought it, I didn't feel like it was that bad, and it didn't really make me think it was that bad until like they're just now saying, oh, he went under surgery for this and this. For some reason, I still feel like, oh, he'll be back in a couple weeks for some
No,
reason.
no. The entire mood of that wreck was just vividly Dan Weldon, and everybody on social media felt the
I
same way.
couldn't.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just can't agree with that.
No, because
It was different for me.
yeah. I mean, I can understand like it's
Maybe
different for
it's because
everybody.
he was a. Maybe it was because he was a champion, but I mean,
Yeah.
it
Um.
felt different.
Yeah. Also because the wreck just wasn't as bad as a Dan Weldon wreck. Because the Dan Weldon wreck, that was just a gruesome wreck. This was just a very, very bad wreck. But it was just the mood of afterwards, of being left out, nobody knowing what's going on. And then you see the helicopter airlifting him out of the track. And it's just like, wow. And it just kind of dawned on people. You look at the replays of this wreck, and there's people sitting in there, and we're all just looking at each other like, is he really dead? Is he really fucking dead? And we all just started talking about it. I was like, what if? Like, what if he's dead? What are we going to do about this? Um, I went to the back office and I had to ask them. I was like, so about the Wickens crash, if he is announced dead, what do we do? Do we take his stuff off the shelf? Do we put it in the back, or do we keep it out? And
I think you just go home.
yeah, we have to ask him for like future reference, like the next day, or like if we stay open, it's like, what do we do? Do we keep the merchandise out? Do we keep selling it, or do we take it back? And they have rules about that, and we had to keep it out. That's their thing. Um, Most people I talked to would agree with me. Take it off the shelf for at least a week or two.
No, I don't think so.
What would you What would you think?
Just keep it there. Why are you gonna take something off and make it seem like he's gone?
Well, because I don't know. It just seems kind of disrespectful to go and sell a merchandise like right after somebody died. I can understand it maybe after a week or two after like it all settles down, like the day afterwards, and people come in and they're seeing Wickens hats and Wickens diecasts and everything. It just I don't know. For
Yeah,
me, it seems like a disrespectful kind of thing to do in my eyes.
I see why you say that, but I feel like if it gets taken out, I feel like you're just I don't know. I feel like you're just sort of replacing him or like saying, "Oh, this never existed."
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
like I'm saying, I'm
Like
not.
you're just trying to get rid of the bad or something.
I know, but I'm not saying it as like, oh, we need. Yeah, I mean, like I have like a hole. Not like a hole, but like I breathe and there's a really cold spot in my throat, and like it's really making my throat tickle. Give me a second. Fuck. Um, I'm not saying take it all off and never put it back up. I'm just saying take it off, give it a few days, let things settle down, so that way the emotion kind of backs off, and then put it back out. So that way it's like, oh, this just happened. You have IndyCar fans coming in that have this on their mind, and they look at it and they just see it and it makes them remember it. I just think maybe keep it off for a few days. Just let things settle down, then go back to normal. It's just like out of respect, I guess. Um, just like take it off for a few days.
I don't know.
That's all I
There's
see.
not much Wickens stuff, anyways.
Yeah,
Really.
there is. We have the 164 diecast, the 118 diecast. We have a hat, shirt, magnet stickers. We got Wickens gear. We do have Wickens gear. I bet you the Wickens decal that is on the thumbnail and that's been advertised, that's going to be in there soon. I would not be surprised. Yeah. Um, just very lucky that he's alive, in all honesty. And people are talking about, oh, he's going to be back in a few months. He's going to be back next season. He's going to be better than ever. It's like, this dude's never going to step foot in the car. He's lucky to be alive. In all honesty, I'm not going to speculate too much, but from the sound of it, he's going to be lucky if he gets to walk again. And if he does walk again, then count his blessings. I understand being a racer, you want to get right back in the car, but I don't think he's ever going to step foot in the car again.
I disagree. Maybe it's just because we don't know exactly what happened, but I find to see that it's either what you said or he'll be back next year. There's no in between. Well, I'm going to take a couple of years off. It's either yes or no, because this spinal cord surgery, it's either like you can't walk or everything's all good.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying. He could be back. I don't know. I'm just speculating on this, but it's just it's a very bad incident. We don't know the severity of it because we know what's going on, but we don't know how bad. They kind of left. They're kind of leaving us out for the most part.
Yeah, one thing I will say that makes it sound really bad is we haven't seen one picture of him smiling with James Hinchcliffe or any of the other drivers like at the hospital or something. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like usually when Hinch had his crash, we saw pictures of him with other drivers smiling.
Yeah.
Like he was all good, you know.
Yeah, I can understand that. It might be just because of all the surgery. He might be in a lot of pain. I don't know about that. I can understand being seclusive because Hinch, we knew like immediately what was going on, because it was like you knew immediately. But because of how severe this wreck is, I think they're kind of keeping it more secluded. Also because of all the stuff that's going on around it, with Hinch being injured in it. Pietro getting somewhat wrecked up in it. Not too bad. I think it's just kind of, I don't know. I can understand both what you're saying about that, but I don't know. We probably could see it. I think it's just more the fact that he's getting in and out of surgeries, and he just might be in a really bad position right now, so he might not be safe good enough to do photos yet.
That's just one thing I look for when this sort of stuff happens. I always see within, I don't know, a couple days, you see them like smiling in the ER or something like that. That's just something I've always looked for.
Yeah. So obviously to talk about that, I don't really have much to talk about like what we can do to make it better because there's already a lot of things being said. Partly get rid of Pocono.
I think that is right because if you think about it, the people who are against that are saying, well, this stuff does happen at the biggest track they go to. Well, can you name the last time it did happen? In a race.
What, a car going in the fence?
No, someone dying, someone getting injured. I mean, this place has had 2 wrecks that are life-threatening
Yeah, that's what I
in
was
2
saying.
years or 3 years.
That's what I was saying. Hold on, I'm getting a tissue right now because my.
Even though the Wilson wreck could have happened anywhere, it still happened at Pocono.
Yeah, that was just a very freak accident. I've talked to people, and what they're saying, I can understand. About, oh, but Indianapolis is faster. You're saying that, then we need to get rid of Indianapolis too. It's like, where's the difference? We need Indianapolis. That's the big race. You don't need Pocono. Yeah. Pocono is just.
Yeah, there's no one in the stands. The race, I mean, and plus, these cars aren't built for the tricky triangle. These cars are specifically built for one track.
Yeah.
And that's Indy.
The way I look at it, I think it's what an IndyCar could do is obviously redo their fencing idea, but you're asking a lot from the tracks itself, because you're gonna have to have Indianapolis, Texas, Road America, even though Road America doesn't really do it, it's mostly focused on Gateway, Texas, Pocono, and Indy. They redo all those fencing, and I don't think some of those tracks are gonna have the money. I don't say like, oh, but you're gonna put money in front of drivers. Like, I'm not saying that. You're asking a really cost-effective question to be done immediately.
Yeah. The one track that could do that on the IndyCar schedule is the track that it's named after. That's the only track that has the funds to do a whole redoing, because wasn't Tony George the person who made the safer barrier?
It was more of a design, I think, by NASCAR, if I'm correct, but it was tested in Indy. Indy was the first people to do it.
Well, let's just technically say, doesn't that mean he was the first person to pay the money to put it in?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll be the first person to put in this new sort of thing if it gets approved or whatever. But there's no alternative. You're not going to create this big safer barrier that goes all the way up in the sky. It looks stupid.
Yeah. The number one thing I would have thought of is, you have this car and it's built for Indianapolis. What I say is make a third aero kit, because you have oval and you have road course and short ovals. Um, but that's different from the other trucks, because I don't know how to put it. I think there should be a third car that has more downforce to the car, or something like that along those lines. Um, like reduced horsepower or higher downforce. You just need a car that you need a road course short oval, an oval, and then a super speedway that goes to Texas and Pocono. That's how I feel about that. Indianapolis should have its own car, in fairness.
Yeah. I mean, and technically they could, for Indianapolis only, they could do what this is just a suggestion, but maybe go back to a car that you can actually pass in.
Well,
Just a
there's
suggestion.
well, yeah, but they're already talking about redoing the car to help with that, because they realized it, but it was too late to do anything about it. Like it was
Well,
already.
all the drivers were saying stuff in practices,
Well, yeah,
and
but
it's like,
it's
come
not like
on.
they can force anything, because they're already doing the practicing. They don't have enough time really to make something happen and then give them enough time to practice for it. It's kind of like, okay, you got to kind of deal with this, and then next year we'll fix it.
What about 2015?
What do you mean?
The 500, where all these cars kept going in the wall and flying. They
Yeah,
had to do something.
yeah, and they did, and it was like, I forget what it was. They like reduced the horsepower on the cars, didn't they? Didn't they
I
restrict
feel
something?
like they didn't give them the boost, and I feel like they made them run their race like version or the side pods.
I'm gonna look this up to try and figure this out. Um,